She says yes.
Okay.
All right.
And Mayor Kuhn is present. I don't see Wakely yet. I expect he will join us at some point. Cole and Schaefer are absent and excused.
Excellent. I am moving on to approval of the minutes. Is there any comments or changes? Okay, I see Kari says none. Okay, we're good. Then I'm going to go ahead and approve the minutes of the September 12th, 2024 CDA. Moving on to agenda item number 1, discussion of CDA ongoing operating expenses, specifically the banners.
Yes, so I thought that this would be a good thing for the CDA to kind of go through the 5 major cost costs centers that the CDA operates in. So those are 1, banners, 2, snow removal, 3, landscaping, 4, events, and 5, holiday lights. Those are kind of the 5 things that the CDA spends its money on currently. I think that now is the time to do this because at your last meeting, you had requested that 5-year coverage from the TID as a one-time payment. And the reception at the finance committee was lukewarm. Really none of the expenses that the CDA has currently are truly meeting the statutory definition for what a CDA is typically involved in, but I would say in particular, the items that are maintenance related, like snow removal, putting up and taking down banners, and landscaping, those 3 are very traditional city operating budget items. And I think that just due to the city's operating constraints in the budget, they've kind of over time been put over onto the CDA's budget, but really those are operating and maintenance costs. And so I think it would be good to just kind of get everybody on the same page about what those expenses are, and looking ahead in case the finance committee decides that they don't want to make that larger lump sum payment, or they want to reduce the amount. Now would be a really good time for us to be looking at cutting costs, because those are probably going to have to get moved over onto the city's operating budget, and that's going to be a really tough
To absorb.
request for
Yeah.
them to be able to absorb that
That's a good
amount.
point.
The other reason that I think now is a really good time for us to be looking at this is that the CDA is likely going to be taking on a bigger role as it pertains to affordable housing, which is clearly in the CDA's statutory mission. And that's with the TID extension that the city is looking at for TIF District 3, where the CDA, working with the Workforce Housing Committee, will have some funding available and to be able to put together a plan for how we want to encourage more workforce and affordable housing in the community. As a side note, the Workforce Housing Committee has asked for a joint meeting with the CDA, and I was thinking maybe just since the date for this meeting is already on our calendars, maybe that could take place in November, which I think would be November 7th. Actually, I'm sorry, it would be November 14th. Would be our next normal CDA meeting. So I asked Daphne to pull the Workforce Housing Committee and see if that date would work for them. And if it does, then I'll make sure we have enough people that can meet that night. So going into banners, I just wanted to kind of share this took a little sleuthing to kind of figure out the history of the banners. But I'm going to share what I learned. What I believe that the banners were started in the year 2000, and that's actually based on a public hearing notice that I found in our Plan Commission files that was written by my coworker, Mark Opitz, who still works for the city. When the banners were first put up around the city, it required a sign variance.
Mm.
So that I think was probably the start of the banner program in 2000. It was initiated by the Tourism Commission. And that was kind of my recollection too, is it was started by the Tourism Commission. I believe at that point in time, the Tourism Commission was part of the Chamber of Commerce, actually. So it was under the chamber and the Middleton Tourism Commission's initiative to start the program. So, let's see here. At some point in time, and we don't know exactly when, it was probably around 2005 or 2006, the CDA began covering the maintenance costs related to the banners, but the Tourism Commission of the city, which is no longer under the chamber, continued to pay for the design and fabrication of new banners, and they also selected the artwork and, you know, the photographs that would be displayed on the banners. The maintenance costs are, we have that under contract with a local company right now, PKK Lighting. They essentially go out and pick up the banners when they blow down, which has become less of a problem over time because we've kind of redesigned the banners so that they have a better wind loading and that they actually have really tiny small holes in them. So it's less of an issue with blowing banners, but they do still have to put some back up. They also take them down and put them back up when they are worn out or being replaced. And they also repair brackets when they get broken by the wind loading on them. And they, for a segment of the community, they take the photo banners down, or they supplement the photo banners with winter banners as well. So the tourism director has told me that they are not going to be paying for banners anymore. So that means that if we decide to continue the banner program in the city, the costs are not only just going to be the maintenance costs, but also the cost to refabricate new banners, which is pretty expensive. Our tourism director had given me what she could find in her accounting software for the costs that they've paid each year. So you can see, like, in 2022, there were new banners made, and that's why that cost is so high. It's about $22,000 to $26,000 to produce new banners. For our budgeted amounts, we have our banners and holiday lights in one account code, and the budget has increased. So it was 10,000 in 2022, 15 in 2023, and 20 in 2024. The reason for the increase is that we no longer do the holiday lighting here. We moved it down to the Stoneware screen. So that's why we increased the cost for the holiday lights, and then also just general labor costs have increased. So I looked at the costs, that the overall costs that were coded to the banner and holiday lights line item. And you can see it was about 7,500 in 2022, 9,000 in 2023, and to date in 2024, it's just under 13,000 so far. And then the portion of that was spent on banners was $2,600 in 2023, and so far $5,200 in 2024. The reason it's higher in 2024 is because we had about $600 of bracket replacements. Let's see the inventory of the banners. They are on mostly major roadways like Airport, Century, Parmenter, around the roundabout, Allen Boulevard, University, Greenway, and then we have some that are in the downtown area that are smaller.
Can you go back on University? Those are the 23. I'm just highlighting University because it is one of our main roads. But when Abby reached out to me as the CDA topic, I was like, oh yeah, I know the ones on Allen. Gee, I don't remember any on University, but maybe, you know, and I think partly because on Allen, they're in the middle of the road and they're side by side. So it's like your eye looks up between the tree lines. And then when I was driving, I realized that on University, they're far apart. They're one on each side. Or they're one on one side for half the road. But they're usually in the tree branches. So this time of year, you're seeing leaves, which I'm not saying we should cut down branches so we can see the signs, but it makes me wonder if that's maybe an area we can cut. I want to get more of a feel from you guys, banner, no banner, or pieces and not some pieces, but if there was a place where I could say maybe we could scale back, especially the tree lines. And the other thing I was thinking about University, and I didn't realize that was the most populous, was that if we close TID 3 in 26, 27, because the affordable housing, we'll likely be focusing on University for a future TID because it's a main thoroughfare that has underutilized properties. Like that's just a reasonable assumption. I know that was something you worked on before with the other TID, with TID 5 extensions, because part of it is your district that could use some help. And for those of you who don't know, my former city council area was another part where it's just underutilized. You know, it's commercial anyways. But if we go to if we start getting some development there, you might have a more walkable path and you might have a different idea of where to put banners. You know, if you want to do lower banners because you're doing more like walking lights. I know, Abby, at one point you thought about, you know, maybe the power lines underground, because I don't think the power lines have banners. I think it's only the lights.
Yep.
But there's just sort of a lot going on University, and I didn't realize that.
Yeah, even like the signage and the number of driveways, I think you don't notice the ones on University as much because there's so many other things you have to be
You're
paying
right.
attention to.
Yeah, because cars are, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I live right by University and I didn't realize there were. I mean, I've noticed them in other areas,
I
like
get
just.
the intention because it's
Greenway,
like the
Greenway catch up,
entry
absolutely.
into the city, right? It's
Yeah.
the welcome to Middleton kind of thing, but it is sort of, oh, look,
Yeah.
that's just like in nowhere land. That's doing nothing. It's too high. It's,
I think part of it is the height.
and in my vision of the university corridor in the future, hopefully not too far away, I picture more charming streetlights that are for pedestrians as well. And then they would be lower and it would make more sense. So my first instinct when you said 23 on University Avenue, let's cut those, I was like, no, this is the entry in. But here I see, yeah, absolutely. There's just too much happening.
And it could be that when, like with your vision of the walking lights, that's something more approachable,
Yeah.
that we may have different funding.
Oh,
know,
right.
We may be blessed with more shared things down the road that would give us that source. So we could keep it sort of on a very close wish list. Look at that. There's just no,
Yeah.
Abby, that was perfect. That like, I couldn't even tell you where the first sign is. Oh, there's one.
And then the next one would be the castle.
Yeah, because it's what I realized while driving down is it's only on one side because the power lines are on the other, they don't have lights on the other side. So the signs are on the one side where the lights are, and then down the road the light side switch because the power line switches.
Yeah.
Which means I really
You're
don't
seeing
know how-
them going out of town.
Yes. Oh gosh, it doesn't even follow the idea.
Like,
Yeah.
Right. And downtown is just such a better place for them because people aren't going fast.
Yeah, they
Past
start to
them.
slow down, don't
Mhm.
they? I was wondering if that was the point of putting them out at first, besides making it feel like that local community, was to keep you engaged and make you realize like slow down, but I don't think it's meeting that goal where
Not here, I don't think you're right.
I know that the city, the planning staff, though, the petty bike folks are trying to work on more ways to slow traffic down, you know, by either doing signage or adding the bike lanes or the future roundabouts or things like whatever those ideas are. And that might be where we are in 2024, but I would be okay, especially if those redesign happened in the future with the more walkable light posts, like you're saying, more the small town feel, and then bringing them back at that time. And, you know, or even if at that time it's closer to downtown or the frequent, you know, like it might just have to be, because again, if we expand the program at that time, the price might be more expensive. So maybe instead of having it all of university, it's maybe like Park Street.
The closer to downtown part, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other challenge that I just wanted to bring up is that when they have to maintain these and put new ones up or replace black brackets, they do have to close a lane of traffic when they're doing university. Whereas the downtown ones, because they're lower, they can just use like a ladder.
Better, yeah.
And they don't have to block any traffic, and they don't blow down as much. They don't catch as much wind, so they're a little bit easier to maintain.
Because they're closer.
This is becoming an easy decision, I think.
Abby,
Yes.
could I like back it up a little to your intro to this, which was sort of that could you just set the stage for help me understand why we're talking about all of these various like groups of expenditures in the context of sort of what you said, that these are not traditionally CDA expenditures? Are you saying we ought to not be continuing to fund these in favor of other things, or what's
I
the
mean,
thrust of that?
so I obviously don't get to decide, but I started with the banners in particular because if it were up to me, I would recommend that we get rid of the ones that are intended for drivers and just
Yeah.
keep the ones that are intended for pedestrians. I think that you notice them more, they're not distracting. And I think it would help us like make our budget stretch further so that we could do other things. And in case the city decides that they don't want to give us the TIF payment, that would help reduce our costs in anticipation of that happening. So I think that for 2025, we're probably going to be okay because we have that TID allocation that covers a lot of these costs, but that should be a planning year to begin to like kind of really look at all the expenses and figure out which ones, you know, maybe aren't absolutely necessary so that we can free up some of our time and energy and budget to work on some of those other items.
I wonder if what the models are for some other small to medium-sized towns with a traditional downtown, for what, if any, cost sharing they do with other stakeholders like the Chamber of Commerce or businesses for this kind of thing that benefits kind of the health of the community, but also that encompasses businesses and other stakeholders.
I can tell you that some people are quietly telling me that the planters would be more something, be almost like a business adopting a planter.
Oh, that's
You
a
know,
good idea.
Maybe they pay $300 towards it and they're right next to it, or maybe they volunteer to water it. Maybe they can't afford, you know, maybe they're barely surviving, but they'll weed it and water it and watch it for, you know, because that's another expense, you
Yeah,
know.
sure.
So Kari, it's a really good question and we can survey to that. And I think one of the things that Abby and I talked about in preparation was Abby was sharing that, you know, if our current banners are fine, that's okay. You know, we can carry the maintenance costs for like a year or two, but once you start losing them because they're well worn or falling or broken,
Yeah.
then we have to replace. And so I think part of the reason Abby picked this is that we got the reprints, I think a year or two ago, as she noted. And so their shelf life is basically 5 years, if I remember right. So we have a good 3 years left. But at that time, really year 3 and 4, you start to lose them. So if we talk about this right now and say, hey, I really love the ones downtown. And our universe is, I don't know, maybe say 80 banners, and we lose 30, in year 3 and 4. So if we're shrinking our costs, we can just say, just as long as PPK can take the remaining banners, like say, the ones on University are fine, maybe they're well worn, we could put them into storage.
Mhm.
Well worn, they go away, but maybe the ones that are remaining, we put them into storage, and that way we can refresh, say, the Greenway Station ones, because a
Well,
lot of
that's a
people,
good idea.
because a lot of people come from down out of town to just walk around Greenway Station. Our conferences go there. It's a good way to show that small town feel, and again, downtown. I think downtowns are really closer to the ground though, even as compared to
Yes.
Greenway. So like maybe the university ones could be captured, or at least the ones past Branch Street. Like if they're really that far out and we're not noticing them, we could put them into storage and just have them so that in year 4 or 5, we're utilizing them. Of course, I have no idea if I don't have storage room. Anyway,
We have a storage unit
okay,
for the banners.
okay.
So it's like,
I mean-
it's in the old business park.
I mean, I would almost say sort of at Park Street or backing up to the block before the co-op really feels like to me at least, like you're entering downtown.
Yeah,
Um,
I see that.
That's that big, the Middleton sign right on Branch Street, like right there.
Yeah, that's
like I
true.
noticed that when you come in.
Yeah,
That's
true.
kind of where I think of, it's right around. Block up.
Yeah, like right in this stretch of this block or two.
I think maybe I have noticed the signs right about there, probably because of
Have
the
you?
pedestrian walk, probably only because of the pedestrian walk though. See, I've never noticed those.
Yeah, gosh, I think my vote would be beyond the intersection at Park and University.
I was starting to think that might be.
And I wonder if we even have.
And then, and if there aren't any, then don't, right?
There,
Save them for the real, actual Elmwood, Hubbard, blah, blah, Armenter.
I think they are, but they're hidden by the
Yeah, see,
trees.
It's a little bit,
Cause I
traffic is still very
fast
hard there. And I don't know that it would
Oh, sorry.
be very useful. Impactful, I guess is the word.
Am I making you all dizzy?
No,
No,
You're
it's okay.
actually not. You're very good at this. Okay,
pretty
see,
fun.
It's
So-
the golfer one.
yeah, when I was driving back after Abby and I talked, I think I caught the tree line, Abby, of the next block. And I was like, I think I was at a light and I took a picture, and there were branches in front of it and there were branches behind. There you go. And I was like, Abby, I have to circle this for you, like when I get home.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't see
I
that
think
one.
that's an easy decision. And I like your idea that they're maybe a little fresher than one that needs repairing.
And then we can hold it.
Get it, yeah.
Yeah, I like
As
that idea.
opposed to
of
like,
pulling
let's
them.
not let them all just wear out, and like, we have 2 on University Avenue that are still hanging in there.
Yeah, it doesn't look good if you have ones with broken brackets.
Exactly.
Like, might as well just remove them and keep them
Yeah.
to replace other ones.
I mean, the other thing is if we took the ones down east of either park or wherever, whichever block you choose, it would give the CDA a chance for me to let you know if we receive any like complaints or concerns or
Oh, that's a good
feedback on it.
point. Because if people really notice they're gone, then we'll know to have that conversation.
Yep.
That's a really good idea. Can you go back to the list? Because I thought one street had one on them,
Yeah.
and I was a little
Elmwood.
confused. Not that you're doing anything wrong having only one, but maybe it's a specific place, like an intersection of 2 or something.
I have to admit, I don't know what that was. I was wondering because this was the inventory that I got from Ron at PKK. And I wasn't sure if he was talking about, if he somehow put the downtown ones into this or
Probably.
Oh,
downtown ones, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there are small banners on Elmwood, but I'm not aware, maybe there's a large banner somewhere on Elmwood that I
Or
just.
maybe it's where the intersection, like, maybe it's University in Elmwood or
Oh, maybe.
a short part.
Or maybe it's
no,
even,
that would be parallel.
I wonder if it could even be like High Point Road going.
Maybe
into-
that's what I was, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, it could be
where it's just that turn. Yeah,
Oh.
that
by the
makes sense.
hotel there.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
I
past
see, I see.
Tagu.
By like Cayuga Court.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know where, I can't pick
Right.
up the little.
yeah,
dot and
you're
draw
right. That's okay.
Because the controls are covering it. Oh, there we go.
Maybe I will drive the kids around this weekend when Sam's working and try to count how many.
You know, I'm thinking at least now, because they're so high on University Avenue, I wouldn't even leave them on Beyond Park. Just take them all off University.
I think the trees hang so far
Yeah.
down, I don't think anyone sees
Don't bother.
Do you see them in winter when their trees are?
them. I was thinking that because I was like, there's so many leaves, but I bet you that people don't look for them. Like on Allen, I look for them because they're where trees usually are. And so when you're going down the hill, it's
Are
like
they-
tree flags, tree flag.
Yeah.
So you're almost like looking for the tree. But here it's, and Allen,
Oh,
you
is
have
that it?
two sides and then grass, so it feels like a small road.
Right.
Where University, it's like 5 lanes, and so you're not looking like
Mhm.
this, you're not looking
Like cars. Driving around, it's gonna go back. There we go. Yeah, I don't know where the big one is.
In front of Mike's house.
Yeah, right one, right. Let's see.
I'll make the call. I will tell him he can't have his own.
He has to have his own call if he's gonna do it.
All right, well, maybe let them know that we want them in a row. If it's at a corner or like an intersection, then we're okay with that. But if there's a few that are just. That makes sense. Century east of Highway 12 has 2 total, and Airport West has 1 total, and Elmwood has 1 total. So those are the 3 that I'm like, those are kind of outliers, but maybe there's a reason.
Might be
So-
right by the airport. It's like right by Kiva.
Yeah.
I say that because there's like that median.
But it's so far that that's probably adding to their cost because they have to go. Because I guess what I'm thinking is
Right?
if we're just focusing to say Greenway Station and downtown, I'm totally fine with Parliament, like that, because that's a lot, I guess if that's seen. Yeah, because it probably connects. Or that's gonna be our that's our arts walk area, like goal. So if that's part of that vision, I'm cool with that. The roundabout, I don't know if I've noticed them, but I'm fine with that. But just University, I think it's not seen. And then if it's just one on a block or infrequent, I'm okay with, was that? I have noticed
On the
those.
roundabout, I've seen.
Yeah.
There are how many at the roundabout? 2?
4.
4?
There's 4, yeah.
Yeah, and we can't do an art install, so that's
Yeah.
fine. I like we'll leave
And
that
the,
out.
that one on Allen, it's all in the boulevard, right? It's in the middle.
Yeah,
That's so much more visible.
and I
And
like that the Middleton's insignia
are
next to it.
they, yeah, because it sort of doubles the size. Are they lower than the ones on
I
University?
think they are. You're right. I think that's maybe why it's caught my eye.
Maybe not, but maybe just the double size.
Maybe it's the double side.
I think there's a lot of trees and green space and there's not like business, and also like on University Avenue, the terraces are really narrow.
Yes,
And
they are.
there's so much going on that I just think it's hard to take
Yeah.
your eye.
I mean, I almost feel like there's so many curb cuts on University that we don't necessarily want to encourage people to be like gazing fondly at our, like, city banners. I think
Daisy
it's
Pond.
okay to remove some distractions along there.
That's a really good one.
Maybe that will support our pedestrian initiatives. I like that.
Do you need an action on this?
If you are ready to, you could make a
Do
recommendation.
we want anything other than University Avenue removed? Anybody?
I mean, I think without having a photo inventory of where they all are, or myself going and driving around, I'm very comfortable with recommending removal of University out away from Middleton from Park and University, or maybe one more block further out. But other than that, I don't have a good visual image of where a lot of the rest of them are.
I'm with that.
Do you
I'm-
want to, what I could do is I could like in 6 more months, or maybe we wait until like April or something. So we could take the university ones down now. But then in April, we could revisit it and I could let you know if we've received any complaints or concerns. At that point in time, everybody will be paying more attention to the banners and then you could reevaluate it then.
That's
Yeah,
a good idea.
I will move that we remove the banners from University Avenue. All of them on University.
Is there a second?
I would second.
Okay, any comments or suggestions? Hearing none, all those in favor of removing banners from University Avenue, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And I think I'll try in those 6 months to look at those 3 that have very few, because maybe you're right, maybe it's right when they get off the highway and it's just there so that people know they're in Middleton and it's reasonable where it is. But if it's not, then we can come back as a group at that 6-month eval and take a look at those sort of outlier cases. So I'll work on that, Abby.
Okay, great.
I think that's the last topic.
Can I ask one last question? Do we have any idea how much that will save us, the 23 banners?
Good question. How many total are there,
Are there
Abby?
like
Because we
80?
could probably see.
84.
Yeah, so if you're removing 23, you're removing about 25% of the large banners, but you're still keeping the, I think it's 50 small banners.
Okay.
So let's just, maybe it would save you like 15% of your maintenance costs. Cause I'm guessing like, it might be up to 20 or 25 even.
And
Because these ones are more difficult to maintain than.
And it might extend the life of the ones we have because of that replacement. It might add like a year or two to what we have if we do have to move away from
Yeah,
it.
good idea.
I think that's really smart.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked about the cost and savings, because if we're trying to find those savings, if we don't get that lump sum, this is a good
Yeah.
start.
Okay.
And I like how you talked about, we'll see how it's received from the public and.
Mhm.
Oh, with all of that, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks to everyone for coming.
Nice and quick.
Thank you.
Hi, Kari.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kari.
Kari.
Ew, thanks, bye guys.
Bye.